Morning, family. Morning. I know a few of you may know me, Frank, Marilyn. I stand here today, Chairman of the Lakewood African American Police Advisory Committee, to present our new Chief of Police. But I've got to give respect to Rhea Johnson and Dave Boyd, of course, the late Dr. Claudia Thomas, who helped form our committee so that we would begin to work on things in our community with the police department before things got, out of control. So this recent past year, we interviewed several people around the nation for the job of chief of police. I can say the general consensus at the end of the interviewing was that the man that we hired was the best candidate, not because of his color, but because he was the best candidate across the board. And there was a general consensus of all the people who sat on the hiring board. So it gives me the honor to introduce our new Chief of Police for Lakewood, Washington, Patrick Smith.
Thank you so much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. I'm very thankful to take over for Mike Zarro in the city of Lakewood. I was really wanted to be here today just to express a number of things, just some of the things that I'm seeing. I know that many of you are not familiar with me, and I just wanted to first tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll go into some of the things that I've seen since I've been here, some of the things that I want to do about it. First, I spent 28 years with the Los Angeles Police Department. I worked my way through the ranks there, and I made it to the top 0.1% of the department, being a commander over all training for the department. I was also over, prior to that, our Metropolitan Division, which is the SWAT team, K9 mounted. So responding to every major emergency within the city and handling basically all of the real drama that goes on in the city. After that, I moved to become the Chief of Police in Birmingham. And I know you guys are saying that's a big jump, big change. Well, on a personal note, I come from a family of 13. I'm number 13. And my oldest sister, unfortunately at the time, was dealing with stage 4 cancer. And it, was taking a toll on her. So fortunately enough, I was able to get the job there, able to continue working, but also able to support her in her final years of life. And for that, I wouldn't change a thing. That was probably the most important thing I ever could have done in my life, to go back and support the family. And so after she passed, I wanted to move back west. So I applied, and here I am in the city of Lakewood. For me, this is at a very critical time. It's a very critical time for our young people. It's a very critical time for the city of Lakewood. And the reason that I say that is because of things that I've seen since I've been there. I try to be a very analytical person. I always follow the numbers. I always look at what's going on. I always track things from start to finish. And then I try to work my way to the root of the problem. Since I've been here, I've noticed that there's been like over a 200% increase over time of our youth committing crime. And I'm talking, kids as young as the age of 12 and to 16. They've gotten caught up in some of the drama that goes on online, and everything we see, hear, and smell online isn't always the facts. But they've gotten caught up in that, in this stolen car rings called the Kia Boys, and stealing cars, and all committing robberies, and just a number of things that you don't think that young people will become involved in. And then you ask yourself, why are they out at 2 in the morning? Why are they out at 4 in the morning? So there's a breakdown somewhere in the fabric of what we do. There's a breakdown somewhere in holding our kids accountable and making sure that they are where they're supposed to be. And that's something that we have to work on as a family, but it's also something that we have to work um, on the greater part of who we are. And so the downside of it is, yes, certainly some of them are being processed through the system at a rapid rate. And it appears on the surface, that they're not being held accountable. They'll bring them in, just plead, and they'll give them an ankle monitor, they'll give them whatever, and they keep sending them back home to moms until something happens, like just the other day, where two of them take off and they run into this truck. Truck overturns, and it is so unfortunate. My heart goes out to the driver of the truck, who was ejected and fell about 70 feet from the overpass down to the 5 freeway. And not only did he fall to hit the ground, then things from this truck, like the windshield, fell on top of him. He had to be pulled aside by officers to save him and given medical treatment, but he didn't survive. So now we have a situation where our young people are being charged as adults. And the last thing that we want to do is to start sending our 15 and 16-year-old kids to an all-adult environment, because it changes them forever. And it's very hard to pull them back when they reach that point. So that's why it was so important for me to come here today. I think I've bothered Mr. Brown several times, telling him, hey, I've gone to the Rotary, I've gone to Lakewood United, I've gone all these places, but it means nothing if I can't talk to you, because many of you know mothers, you know grandmothers, you know sisters and brothers who can have an impact on our young people. And I'm surprised that we don't have some of them here today, because it's important that they know what's going on. So, all that said, I just wanted to let you know that I'm thankful to be here to serve in the city of Lakewood. I'm thankful to do everything that I can to make a difference. One of the things that I wanted to bring up is that we need to do more hiring. I know that I'm probably one of one on the department right now. And there's one of one African American female right now. And so we've got to do more to reach out, to do our part to help. And when I say to help, sometimes the help means helping from the inside out. I come from a family of police officers. My two brothers or one's retired, but one's still working, are police officers, and myself, my dad was an MP in the military. And all of this came about just from a traffic stop. Years ago in Alabama, when an officer stopped my dad, who he thought was somebody else, and thought that these young little boys in the car were a problem or something. And so just the way that he talked to him, and the way that he dealt with my father on a traffic stop. And my dad did something interesting. After the officer left, went on about his way, he pulled over to the side of the road, and he stopped and he educated his young kids. And then he gave us a little thing and said, you can do something about this. Hence, he had 3 sons who became police officers, trying to make a difference from the inside out. And that, to me, is one of the most important things that I can do. So I'll stop yapping and open the floor for any questions that you might have. And again, I'm very thankful.
So we're going to take our first 3 questions from in the room. People on screen, if you have a question, I see Christina Blanca has her hand up, and others. If you would keep your hands up, but also put your question in the chat in case we don't get to it. We'll have it memorialized and we can figure it out. And so we'll take the first 3 questions from the room. Questions for the chief of the city of Lakewood Police Department. All right. Okay. Mr. Kong.
Thank you, sir. When you do your hiring process for Lakewood, can you make sure that the people that you hire have an invested interest in Lakewood, like being raised in Lakewood, or people from the Tacoma area, Pierce County area? Because when you have people that have an invested interest in the neighborhood, in the police officer, in the community, you have a better relationship between community and cops.
Yes, I agree with you partially. I agree with you partially. And the reason that I say I agree with you partially is when I started with the LAPD, I didn't know anything about the community. I really didn't. But I knew something about people. And the most important thing is that you know something about people. You know how to treat people. You know how to talk to people. You know how to handle things and environment. And certainly we want to start with the root of where people come from and give them opportunity. But to be honest with you, I would prefer to be stopped by a cop who has a good heart. One who's going to talk to you like the man that you are, the gentleman that you are, and give you the same opportunity as everyone else. So, but point very well taken.
Next question from Steen Armstrong, and the third question will come from Dr. Bassel, and then we'll go to the screen. So get your hands up and your questions in the chat. Judge Armstrong.
Thank you, I was just wondering, since Tacoma has a black chief, and you're in Lakewood now, and Tacoma seems to be having the same problems that Lakewood are actually having, have you in contact with our chief?
I met with Chief Moore 2 weeks ago, and I met with him 2 weeks prior to that. I spoke to him on the phone twice already, and I spoke to his assistant chief yesterday.
Thank you very much. Dr. Bassel.
Yeah, question. To your point about a good heart, part of it also is just because of
Yes.
I was able to know
Yes.
because of my position.
Yes.
And police officers who are patient. So I got to know them really well. It really makes a difference, you know.
Yes,
You know,
of course.
because it's not the same experience person. And when I was growing up, they had this thing called PAL, Police Athletic.
Yes.
Which you get into the community.
Yes.
Work with kids. Is that still a thing?
So that's a great question. A lot of departments have moved away from that, not because they want to, but because of hiring. They don't have a number of officers the way they used to. The numbers are down, retirements are up, and unfortunately, people are leaving at a rapid pace because 30 years ago they had a rapid hiring, and so now you have rapid retirements. And so it's something that we have to deal with. Certainly, we need to bring it back. Certainly, we need to be out in the community and working very hard.
Ellen, we're going to go to the screen, and you should recognize those names.
You're getting in the first. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Chief, for coming to us and speaking with us today. How would you describe the department's culture?
I would describe the department's culture as one where I can honestly say so far I've seen officers whose heart is in the right place. They want to do what's right for the community. They want to work hard for the community. But I still see great opportunity there. Great opportunity to do more outreach, great opportunity to work a little bit more with the youth. But then we also have to have other plans and programs to start catching some of those who are at risk that we really need to give more mentoring and development.
Thank you.
Okay. Christina?
Good morning, everyone. My question is, can you share your insights on what the Lakewood Police Department plans to do to train officers in cultural responsiveness and racial bias?
So even in the academy, they are exposed to it. We also do additional training. And if any of you want to be a part of any form of outreach, training, development, or you have something that you feel is significant that needs to be infused into the department, I'm an open ear and want to be a part of that.
Great.
Thank you. Can you please describe your staff's connection to brain health institutions and housing, food, and job security programs? As we know, like our jails and prisons are the number one location where you find people who have unmet brain health needs, depression, schizophrenia, so on and so forth. How are you addressing people who are single or dually diagnosed with brain health needs?
So we still work with all of the hospitals in terms of providing medical treatment, mental health, and getting mental health patients to the services that they need. I was just in a meeting just yesterday with the name escapes me right now, the mental hospital, about providing additional care and treatment, going over their safety plan, also what we can do more to help them, but also how they can help us to provide additional training for our officers to ensure that our officers are recognizing the danger signs, recognizing when someone is in a crisis, recognizing when someone needs more mental health care, and also learning to slow things down so that we can have the lines of communication with them, help them work their way through a crisis. Not everything requires an arrest, but everything may require some form of helpful treatment.
You're muted.
I'm sorry. You said people. You said, just to make sure I understood. You are working at the hospital. People are coming into the prisons and jails and supporting people who are in prison because of unmet needs.
Yes. So they're working on their end to get those who are in jail and in prison who need to be at a hospital much faster. And that's one of the things that we were talking about, their turnaround and getting folks to help with food.
Great, thank you.
We're going to come back to the room. We have questions in the room. We'll have Mr. Mosesley, Dr. Scott, and Pam in that order.
Okay. Thanks for coming to the school. So I was, in terms of outreach and connection with young men of color, it seems like that for the mentorship activities and engagement activities with law enforcement tends to be more elementary school age, maybe gets into a little bit of middle school, but at the point where I have three boys that are 20, 19, 17. At their level, that engagement is kind of aged out of the kinds of strategies that community liaison officers or officers might take to kind of have positive interactions, and just kind of wondering if there's different strategies that you're aware of that you might think could be additional tools in the toolbox in terms of like this engagement with young men.
So they're really not aged out because we do have our school resource officers in the schools for them every day, and they know who the school resource officers are. Just a few weeks ago, we had a teen summit where all of the teens that were a part of this group, much larger than what we have here, who wanted to come in, they met with officers. I spoke to them, officers spoke to them, talked to them about various things going on, their concerns. We intend to continue to have our youth summit to reach more of our you know, close to adult age kids so that we can reach out to them because we recognize that we have to be active in their lives one way or another. So I prefer to lift them up than to deal with them in some negative form.
That's great. Thank you. Dr. Scott?
Say, Chief Smith, welcome back to the West Coast. My area is education, and what I wanted to comment, I know the Tacoma Public Schools has a summer programs, activities that is part of the school system. And I just want to say, if you're very, I'm one of the chairs of the education committee. And so I just like to keep in touch with you and offer an opportunity if you want to discuss some of these things with us in terms of what the school systems and broad education is. I'll get you my contact information.
Certainly, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Welcome, Chief Smith. I went to college in Schenectady, New York. I've lived here for 33 years. I was just at a reunion, and Allison Howard, a classmate of mine, was commissioned to do a documentary on policing, and it's already met with Chief Staff and his team. And the idea is to kind of rebrand. She had originally done like cops in the 90s, done stuff that made Tacoma look like something that I didn't recognize for the rest of the country. But her name is Allison Howard. She's a documentary filmmaker, and she's got a bid for Netflix, and it's just a matter of response. I know the health department's been talking about branding, rebranding, and that's on the table.
We have two more questions in the chat. Okay, Michael's back up.
So the first one is, can you share any specific initiatives or programs that the department has implemented to address unique needs and concerns of people of color?
Thank you, Leah, for following the rules.
So right now there are no new initiatives that have been started. However, we are working on various things just to help the community as a whole. And the reason I say community as a whole because there are certain things that impact the overall community. And what I mean is you have issues of homelessness that really need to be addressed all over, and issues of mental health where we need to do a little bit more to get people into the services that they desperately need. And then one of the things that's been impacting us has been just the same thing that I spoke of earlier, and that's just with crime. Unfortunately, a lot of us own the Kias and Hyundais. When you wake up in the morning and you can't get to work because your car is not working, it's going to take 3 or 4 weeks before you get another one back, or even longer before it's recovered because they take off and officers can't go after them. Those are things that are hindering a lot of us on a daily basis because even as I look at the numbers in Lakewood, 59 cars were stolen just in 1 month. So and then at the start of the year before I arrived, it was up to 80. And so that's 80 people, 80 families that have been impacted. And I look at the numbers in Tacoma, they're several times over that. Wow. And so we're really impacted.
Second question from Paul Jackson. He said, I commend you on your decision to move closer to your sister. What is your position on using AI for facial recognition systems for using automated systems for police?
Thank you, Paul.
So I'm not using elected in Birmingham. I had a real-time crime center built out. That's because of the dwindling number of officers, and so you have to think smarter and not work hard. The other thing is also have to put technology in context. You mentioned facial recognition technology. The reason I say you have to put it in context, if you're using facial recognition technology, heck, we pretty much all use it, even with our cell phones. We just put it up there, and it identifies us, and we keep going. We don't
The
think
lady who's like that, what's wrong with her back? Her back, she's always, does she have a lot of pain?
Ron, you need to. Thank you. And we don't think anything of it. We go to our grocery stores and we don't think anything of it, but there are cameras all over. We go to the bank, there are cameras all over. So from time to time, you may start seeing them in the community. First, to help with traffic, but the other part is to make sure that people are safe. Facial recognition technology. Touching on that, using it in context. Using it in context because we know through facial recognition technology that some programs that have been built, we all look the same. And so we have to go with true technology that has been proven with a very high percentage rate, but also using it the way it's supposed to be used. Not as saying this is the person, but narrowing the field and recognizing that there is latitude in the technology, and saying where we had no leads, now we may have 4 or 5 that we can look at. Not saying that this is the person, because we should never rely on just that to say this is the person unless we have a system in place with direct identification.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Before I leave you, I want to thank the judge.
I'm just ready to do that. Judge Mansfield.
Yes, I just have one more thing. I want us to show up for you. So tell us when you're going to be speaking next, another public situation where we can show up in numbers to show our support for you. And it was my great honor to swear you in.
That's what I
Well, I have to tell you something funny. I went to be sworn in, and judge shows up. And she's dressed, a robe pressed, everything she's ready to go. So we go up there, and she swears me in, and I get back to my wife, and she's taking all these pictures, and I said, "Let me see what you took." All the pictures of it. I was like, "What are you doing?" She says, "I can see you anytime." But it's so good to see an African American judge over there.
Two things right here. And Mrs. Zero, we're going to hear from Marilyn, we're going to hear from Julius, and then we're going to give the chief one more opportunity to say anything in summary, and then we have to move the agenda. Marilyn?
So nice to meet you, Chief Smith. I am your congresswoman.
Yes.
Every quarter, I have an online meeting with all the chiefs of police by district, and we will reach out to your office and invite you. Number 2, family. We have in Tacoma a black police. We have it in Lakewood. Thurston County is black. So my point is, we have a moment here. It's trying to really advance policies and have some influence. So let us not waste this moment and let's use the leverage to get it. But thank you so much.
Thank you for saying that, because you recognize that it's a moment. Yes. And you can use it or you can lose it. Right. And so I would recommend that you use it.
Julius?
I just wanted to say that after the swearing in, Judge Mansfield walked over to me and said, "We got one."
Okay. First, in closing, I just want to say thank you guys so much for just inviting me out and giving me just a few moments of your time. Your precious time means so much to me, because we have so many different agendas that we have to take care of. And number one, we really have to take care of our youth. And we really have to reach out more to our young African-American young men and women, because we just cannot lose any more to the criminal justice system and we've got to do everything we can to save every one of them. And so I just want to say, please work with me. Please give me a chance. Please allow me to try to make a difference for you.
Thank you again, Chief. Okay, we're going to go about 5 minutes over, so I'm just letting people know.